All right. So you wanted to talk about some stuff with the NBA?
Yeah, let's just, we don't have to talk about the Anthony Davis thing, but we'll talk about the Damian Lillard thing. We've been going on for like over an hour now, so we'll just do the Damian Lillard thing and then we'll kind of close it out.
Yep.
So Damian Lillard was doing, I guess, an interview or a podcast or something, and he was discussing the whole culture in the NBA that's kind of championship or bust.
Right.
Like if you don't win a championship, because there's a whole push, if you don't win a championship and your whole career was waste and all this other stuff.
Rings culture.
Yeah, right. And Damian Lillard made a good point. He said, I don't really buy into that. And people talk about, well, we got to win a championship, as if winning a championship isn't like the hardest thing to do in sports, because there's so many variables that come into play and all this stuff. And he's like, I don't do my career that way. So Rob Parker and Chris Broussard were reacting to this on their radio show. And, well, first of all, just reacting to what Damian Lillard said. I agree with him. I think that we've gotten a little too caught up in this whole championship or bust thing, to ignoring other stuff that happens in the regular season or downplaying it. If Damian Lillard stays in Portland his whole career and never wins a title, he's still one of the best players we've ever seen. He's still got a bunch of playoff moments. He still hits a bunch of big shots in the playoffs. He's won a bunch of games. He'll go down as one of the all-time great guards that we've ever seen play in the league, assuming he keeps going on the path that he's on now. It's one of those things where, we should try to keep things in context. But reacting to what Rob Parker and Chris Broussard were saying, they were taking that and then criticizing LeBron for having left Cleveland, saying, well, we thought he would have won if he had stayed in Cleveland anyway. Now, look, that's a hypothetical, so it's really hard for me to say one way or the other. But they were like, well, LeBron's so good that he just would have won. That's not the case, okay? You can't just have one really great player and then you're going to win a championship. That's not LeBron. We were watching LeBron in Cleveland. Remember the series against Orlando? I think it was the year
09.
He went to the finals, and then the next year they lost to the Celtics. And then the next year it was like, they're going to go to the finals. They're going to play Kobe and the Lakers in the finals. And they got to the Eastern Conference Finals and they lost to the Magic. And LeBron had a totally unbelievable series, and they lost in 6 games. And they were down 3-1 at one point in the series. And the games that they won, LeBron had to basically have a triple-double and like a 35-point triple-double. Like, it was insane. Okay? So the idea that, he just would have won anyway, I don't know that. He couldn't get star players to come to Cleveland, And so Rob Parker was kind of criticizing him because he's like, LeBron panicked. He's like, I need to win a ring. And then he was saying, well, Damian Lillard's not that kind of a player. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Few players are at the level of LeBron, but like, I'm supposed to believe that Damian Lillard isn't going to get criticized if he never wins a ring. Like Charles Barkley gets criticized for having never won a ring. So, I thought it was interesting. And I give credit to Damian Lillard. Like, look, it's your career. You do it the way you want to do it. I didn't have a problem with Giannis staying in Milwaukee. Now it happened to work out. He won the title there. That's great. And if Lillard wants to stay in Portland, have at it, man. Do your career the way you want to do it. And you'll still have a lot of great moments. And, will history look down on you if you never win a ring? Yeah. And some of that's kind of unfortunate because I think we ignore great players. We just sort of downgrade them because they never won a ring. But, there's a little bit like, I agree with what he's saying, but then the whole thing that Rob Parker and Chris Broussard were saying, you just stay. If you're good enough, you'll win. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, look, there's no winning for the players here. There's no scenario where the players win. If they don't win, well, you weren't good enough. And if they move to another team because they try to win, well, you're chasing a ring or you're creating a super team. So what do you want? What do these people want? Rob Parker lives in fantasy land. He's like, oh, we don't care that you didn't win a championship. Yes, we do. Stop pretending. People still rip Charles Barkley for not winning titles. So stop pretending it doesn't matter. It does matter. Like it's just ridiculous to me. No, let's be honest about it. It matters. We're going to look at you differently if you have rings on. Steph Curry would be getting, and I thought Broussard was exactly right. Steph Curry would be getting ripped apart if he didn't have a ring.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then it turns into this. We elevate you because you won a championship. Steph Curry doesn't have a championship if he doesn't on that unbelievable team. Forget the Kevin Durant thing. The team the year before that, nobody gets a team like that. Nobody gets 3 Hall of Famers at the team drafts. That doesn't happen. Damian Lillard's never going to get that. I like what Damian Lillard said, and I agree with him. By the way, he's been consistent on that. He said, I'm not going to this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to stay here and try to win. Now, he did complain to the organization that he wanted changes. I think what I'm starting to think is, I think that's more because the Portland Trailblazers were a mess, as evidenced by they dumped the GM under a cloud of, suspicion of all kinds of abuse going on. So I think, he said he wanted changes, so I think everybody took that to mean he wants to be traded. And he came out and very clearly said, I'm not asking to be traded. So I like that Damian Lillard has basically, this is how I'm going to do it, and has been fairly consistent on it. But the media needs to pick a side. What do you want? Do you want guys? Right. You only care about when guys win, but then you're going to complain when LeBron tries to go to a better team.
Yep.
Even though all of those sports writers, they all jump to a better network the minute they can. As soon as they can get more money and get a better, get a better gig or whatever it is, they jump right to it. So honestly, this is media bullshit that they need to figure out. They need to figure out what they want, because I don't have any problem. LeBron decided to go play with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. What's wrong with that? You don't. First of all, the idea that that was a fear-based decision. He had to win, so he had to, whatever. You don't know that.
That's true.
You don't know that. Only LeBron knows that. You can figure out ways you can criticize. LeBron's been criticized every which other way you possibly can. And this is how it works. So we criticize you like crazy until you win. You're not good enough. And the whole narrative is false. Giannis wasn't any better now or last season than he had been his whole career.
Yeah.
He just got more help last year. Okay, we were saying it the whole playoff run. If Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday show up, they have a chance to win the title. If they don't, they won't. They were down 2-0 in the playoffs.
If Irving and James Harden didn't get hurt, they probably would have lost.
Right. So this is what we're doing. Like, Steph Curry with the Warriors. What if whatever Kyrie and Kevin Love don't get hurt in 2015 and the Cavs beat them? We still talk about Steph Curry the same way? Like, right. Kevin Durant, he wasn't winning championships in Oklahoma City. Came close a few times, but they weren't winning. So now it's just I don't like the way we criticize players just because at a moment's notice over whatever nonsense we decide to pick this week. It's completely unfair and ridiculous. And I don't like that it's all about the championship. That's all anybody cares about is, did you win the championship or you suck? I don't like that. I do think I do enjoy it. I think it's important. Everybody wants to win. I think that's great. But this idea that we've decided, I don't like these players getting elevated and downgraded based on some arbitrary circumstances that happened. It's really ridiculous. So I think people need to be honest about, how this works.
The last thing I wanted to point, I remember when I was thinking about this earlier this week, the last thing I wanted to point out was Rob Parker was like, oh, we think he would have won in Cleveland if he had stayed there. Okay, look, again, it's a hypothetical, so we don't really know that, but let's just put this into context, okay? The Celtics were still there. They had just made the finals. Right before LeBron left, they had just made the finals. They had just beaten Cleveland, okay? LeBron didn't have that much help there at that point. So if LeBron had stayed, Maybe Cleveland makes some changes at the margins, whatever. Chris Bosh may have still decided to go to Miami. Okay. So then you got Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade in their prime on the same team. Okay. So they would have been pretty good. And then you think about if they didn't have the salary of LeBron, they would have filled in the other pieces. It all would have fit together probably better than it did when they had LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh there. So you would have them to deal with. Orlando was still a team. You might have had some trouble with Indiana. I don't know. I mean, Indiana gave the Heat trouble with LeBron and everybody else. But yes, the idea of, they just would have won anyway. Well, even if they had gotten out of the Eastern Conference, they would have had to deal with the Spurs or Oklahoma City or, I don't understand, or Dallas or whatever. So,
but if they didn't win, you would have ripped him for not winning the championship.
Exactly.
So if I'm the player, right? Let's just look at it from their perspective because nobody ever does. If I'm the player, okay, no, I'll take the ring because then you'll shut the fuck up.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay, like Charles Barkley says it all the time now. If I'd have known you guys were going to rip me apart for 30 years, I would have changed teams and gone to, whatever and tried to win, which he actually did do. But he would have been like, I would have been a lot more interested when I was younger about winning championships. I didn't realize it was going to be like this because back then it wasn't. People didn't talk about it that way. Now it's just we count the championships. If you didn't win the championship, we don't want to hear from you. So, yeah.
It's one of those things. We're Dolphins fans, obviously. Dan Marino's gotten criticized because he never won a ring. And people act like, well, if you'd won a ring, you would think differently of him. And people do. But at the same time, it's like, Dan Marino had a great career. The idea that Dan Marino wasn't clutch because he didn't win a Super Bowl, he was clutch plenty of times. He had a bunch of comebacks. He made the AFC Championship game multiple times. He made a Super Bowl. He had, the AFC Championship game against Pittsburgh when they made the Super Bowl, he destroyed that defense. So, the idea, people, they blow things way out of proportion, just because you didn't win a ring. When there are so many, like Damian, what I loved about what Damian Lillard said, he goes, as if this isn't the hardest thing to do in sports, which it is, which finally somebody said that, which is a great point.
Yeah. I don't like the minimizing, when LeBron goes to Miami or Durant goes to Golden State. Oh, well, it's easy. It's like there's no scenario where you win a championship and it's easy. Yeah. These things are not easy. I don't care how many ways you slice it. Even when LeBron went to Miami, it was really, really hard. It's just absolute nonsense.
Well, it's like when the Lakers when they three-peated with Kobe and Shaq. The first year they played Indiana, and they had a pretty tough series. They won the game. They won it in 6.
Remember, and they had to beat Portland in the 7th game.
Yeah. Well, no, my point was going to be the next 2 years they got to play the Nets and the Sixers and the Nets, right? I mean, well, I don't know. The year against the Sixers, the Lakers kind of blew through the playoffs. That was one year where it's like, okay, I guess that was kind of easy. But they were Shaq was in his prime. That was such a dominant team. But then they got to play the Nets the next year. But the next year, they had to play Sacramento in a 7-game series, and they almost lost. Okay, so you can go, oh, well, it was easy in the finals. Yeah, but it wasn't easy getting there. So
no, it's ridiculous. So I applaud Damian Lillard for doing it the way he wants to do it.
It's your career, man. Do your career the way you want to do it, man.
I also applaud LeBron for saying, "Hey, I'm going to go take advantage of this better opportunity." I think anybody you can get a better job and work with better people and be in a better situation, absolutely do it. For some reason, that's not allowed to be applied to sports. For some reason, you're cheating. If you win too much, we don't like you anymore. Even though he's constantly ripped for not winning enough because he's not as good as Jordan. So which is it? Which is it? He's not winning enough to be as good as Jordan, or he's winning too much and you don't like that?
Right.
So anyway.
All right. It's kind of that's a pretty good amount of stuff.
Yeah. So we got Packers Vikings tonight, and then Browns Steelers tomorrow. Could be the last home game of Ben Roethlisberger's career. So this will be kind of interesting. And then next week is Week 18 craziness. Should be
Monday is the national championship game, right?
Next Monday.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, the Monday after the regular season, NFL regular season. Yep. All right, episode 20 in the books.